Coming up on the Health Unmasked podcast, we talk about the keto diet and the carnivore diet and juice fasting and how you can use these methods to watch fat literally melt off your body. Coming up. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Health Unmasked podcast. I'm Karl Pilz, and I'm here with my co-host, Dr. Eric Ginter. How's it going, Dr. G?
Hey, Carl, how's it going, man? Good to see you.
You too, man. So today, let's talk about some diets and juice fasts and stuff like that. There's a lot of people that are wondering what diet they should be on. You know, is juice fasting cool? A lot of people have seen that documentary, Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, and where the guy drinks nothing but juice for 60 days or whatever. And so, everybody's wondering what works. So, I think at the end of the day, there's going to be a lot of diets out there, and you don't necessarily have to pick one. You can understand the concepts that we're going to go over, and you can basically make a diet that's specific to you based on what you like and what you think you can handle, or what you think you can integrate into your house because maybe you have kids. So going strict keto might be a little bit difficult because the kids are always eating fruit and bread and stuff like that. So take all this, and then we're going to show you how you can make it your own. So one of the diets that I was on for quite a while that I lost a ton of weight, at my heaviest, I was 237 pounds for a guy who's 5'8". That's pretty heavy. And so I got into first Atkins and then keto, which is basically what Dr. Atkins originally envisioned. What they turned Atkins into now with all these, sugar substitute laden protein bars and all that stuff. I mean, Atkins will be rolling over in his grave because that's not at all what he had envisioned. Atkins specified in his book a very, very high-fat diet. And, of course, mainstream media took his diet and basically said, oh, fat's bad for your heart. So, let's make it these protein bars. But so when you go on a ketogenic diet or keto, when you go keto, the point of going keto is to switch your body over into ketosis. And when you go into ketosis, right now, most people are walking around and their bodies are burning sugar for fuel. Your body's running on blood sugar. Your brain is running on blood sugar. That's all based on carbohydrate intake. But when you go into ketosis, you switch that and you switch your body's primary source of fuel from carbs to fat. So your body, your cells, all your cells intake, fats for fuel, and your brain intakes fat for fuel, specifically ketones, which is a much cleaner burning fuel for your brain. So that's the point of a ketogenic diet. And the way that you do this is by switching your diet. You basically get rid of all carbs. For most people, you're going to have to get rid of all carbs, including fruit and milk, because milk has the lactose and stuff like that in it. So basically get rid of all carbs. And it's not a high protein diet. We're going to talk about carnivore and what Eric experienced when he went carnivore in a second, but it's not a high protein diet. It's a adequate protein and a high fat diet. So you figure out what your protein needs are, like how much muscle, based on how much muscle you have and how much you work out. If you work out, you're going to need more protein because your body is requiring more protein to build that muscle after a workout. But you have adequate protein, not high protein, and then you fill in the rest of the calories to make you full with fat. And that will change your body over through usually a 10-day process or so, which can be not fun, but it's highly worth it. It takes your body about 10 days to realize, oh, okay, we don't have the carbs coming in that we used to. We're not seeing breads, we're not seeing pastas, we're not seeing a ton of fruit. We're not seeing the carbs coming in. So your body empties its glycogen stores in your liver, which is basically a reservoir where your body will hold extra glycogen for cases of emergency. And so it'll get rid of all those. And then when it gets rid of all that and it sees that there's no more carbs coming in, your body's going to say, okay, it's time to switch over to burning fat. And then you start breaking down body fat for fuel. And literally your appetite disappears. Like when I was going keto, there were times where I forgot to eat, over 24-hour periods because I just plain out forgot.
Yeah, it just keeps your body satiated that way
Yeah.
when you're burning such efficient fuel.
Yeah.
I like to think about it, and I've heard this mentioned before. When you go into ketosis, it's almost like cooking with gas compared to like cooking with like a campfire where it's all smoky and gritty and stuff like that. The gas is just so much cleaner.
Yeah, that's actually a good analogy.
Yeah.
I noticed when I was younger and doing this, if you have some alcohol when you're on a ketogenic diet, like
Yeah,
you buzz up really quickly. But when
yeah,
you eat carbs, like everybody knows, like from college, if you go out drinking on an empty stomach, that's a recipe for disaster. But if you have like pizza or something like that, or a lot of carbs beforehand, it slows down. So obviously, when you have a mix of alcohol and carbs, your body, burns off the carbs first.
right.
And a lot of, for a longest time, a lot of the medical community said, yeah, it's because your body prefers to burn carbs over fat for fuel. But then some of the doctors questioned that and they were like, wait a minute. Your body is really smart and your body is going to get rid of the most toxic stuff first.
Yeah,
So if you eat carbs and have alcohol, your body's going to burn the carbs first before it starts burning the alcohol because the carbs are more toxic.
yeah,
It's so crazy, but yeah, carbs are very dirty. I mean, that's like buying the cheap gas compared to buying premium.
right.
So, but yeah, once you get into ketosis, I mean, your body, a skinny person, has enough calories and fat on their body to last them for a couple of months without eating. And you can go.
Right.
I mean, when you do this fasting, like I did this, and then I did juice fast, and juice fasting after being in ketosis for a while is way easier than the first time I tried to do a juice fast, which was 3 days of just hell. That was brutal. But when you get into this ketosis state, you might eat once a day. Maybe you might not eat for a full day, and the body weight literally just melts off, and you feel amazing.
Yeah,
You might miss the carbs or ice cream here and there, but the way that your body is just shrinking is going to be so overwhelming that it's unbelievable.
hmm,
So, but one thing, there's a couple things with a couple nuances with ketosis, and that is when you get into ketosis, your body goes through salt and minerals like crazy. So, if you're gonna
yeah,
go if you're gonna go on a keto diet, you really have to be over the whole salt is bad for my blood pressure thing, because that is a lie, and that will really make ketosis more difficult. Because when
yeah.
you're in
Got to have
ketosis,
those.
you gotta beef it up, all of it.
You got to have those minerals.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Your body starts going through them like crazy. So you have to really start salting your food, and you really like I have this mineral supplement mix that that Molly and I use on my website that people can get the recipe for. It's a bunch of powdered vitamin C, salt, and cream of tartar for potassium, and we have to take that like crazy when we're in ketosis. Otherwise, you get drained and you start getting cramps, like bad, like difficult cramps. Like I get them in my back and it's like painful if you don't keep up with your salt and minerals. So that's one big nuance that people need to like. They tell you a lot of the books will tell you to drink coconut water or something like that for the minerals. I realized that doing
yeah,
bone broth and this mineral supplement is very much the way to go. Like I have my bone broth recipe on my website too, but all the minerals in bone broth and all that stuff mixed with the mineral supplement is really magic, and it keeps you from getting any type of cramps or anything like that when you're going keto.
yeah.
But yeah, that's a ketogenic diet in a nutshell. It works. It's great getting into the first 7 day or first 7 to 10 days of getting into ketosis isn't fun. But once you get there and the body fat just melts off, I mean, there's no question that it's awesome.
Right.
So how does that compare? Like that compared to you went carnivore. I've never been carnivore. I don't know a ton about it. So what is that diet compared to like ketosis?
So it's interesting because there are so many different theories on carnivore and it's evolving. And I think that, several years ago when it started and people started noticing it, it was really strict. So carnivore was mostly red meat, I would say. Animals with hooves, basically. So like elk and cow and beef or um, lamb, stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, and then other people started saying, well, I'm going to eat eggs with it too. I'm going to have chicken too. And now it's evolving into I'm going to have some fruit with it. I'll eat a couple of berries here and there. I'll drink a glass of orange juice. And I think it's really evolved and really it really comes down to what suits your body best, what makes you feel best. And I think that's really should be the way that most of us practitioners help people is what do you feel good on?
Hmm.
You know, when you eat, what makes you feel good? If that doesn't feel good to you, then that's not something you should be doing,
Yeah, right.
you know?
Yeah, if yeah,
So,
and availability. I mean, different people live in different areas where they're the availability of different meats is either better or worse.
for sure,
Like here in Raleigh,
for
we have
sure.
actually a pretty good sourcing of like you can go to the butcher's market and get elk and shoot elephant and ostrich and stuff like that if you want. But that's not the
Yep.
case
Yeah.
everywhere.
Right. And then the other kind of thing that's kind of getting into the health sphere now is the eating of the fat of the animal fats. And there's a theory that because our toxins are stored in fat, it might not be the best thing for you to eat the animal fat. So there's a group of people that say, you should be eating your beef lean
Hmm.
or your meat lean if you're going on carnivore and get the fat from different sources. I kind of think that makes a little bit of sense. When I went carnivore, I basically was eating nothing but a pound and a half of ribeye every day. And that was
It's a
enough
great
to
diet.
satisfy me. What?
That's a great diet.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. But the interesting thing that I see now is like a lot of people are saying that, getting that animal fat and that high degree of fat could possibly be not the best for you because the animal is going to be storing the toxins in its fat.
That's
So I
true.
think that's interesting too, you know?
That's true. But if you get grass-fed beef and pastured pork and things like that, and pastured chickens, then that's not really an issue.
Yeah. So if you have that stuff available to you, absolutely, that is going to be something that's a game changer for you.
If people like it, and the internet's awesome. If you don't have the ability to get grass-fed meats locally, like I found a farmer that's in Siler City, which is about what, an hour drive for us.
Yeah.
And I go to him and I get beef and pork and chicken and all that stuff, and everything is pastured and grass-fed. But a lot of people can't find that. And what we were doing before I found that farmer was going to U.S. Wellness Meats,
Right.
and they deliver in freezer packages or whatnot, so it stays frozen. And their meat was actually very good. The standards that they hold their meats to was actually really good. So anybody
Yeah.
in the country can get it. Just have it shipped if you can't find it locally.
Yeah.
Local's always better. You're supporting your local economy and eating animals that are grazing on your local vegetation and whatnot.
Yeah.
But the
I've
internet
also
can
seen
help.
some, yeah, I've seen some controversy on labeling on what actually is grass-fed and grass-finished too.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
there's some people that kind of skirt that requirement somehow and are putting grass-fed or grass-finished on their products, but it's not necessarily completely grass-fed and grass-finished.
Do you know if they were talking about the stuff that was sourced in the U.S. or if it was coming over from overseas?
I don't remember about that.
Because I know even the stuff that Whole Foods labels as organic, it's coming from Thailand, it's coming from China, and all that stuff. And
Yeah,
who's actually verifying this that these foods are following organic practices?
right.
The Chinese
Yeah,
government? Probably
yeah,
not.
yeah.
So, but I
That's
always kind of fell back on if they're saying, like, they can always word things weird on the packages. Like if it says grass-fed beef, but it doesn't say 100% grass-fed,
yeah,
then they're feeding it some grass and they're feeding it some corn and soy and all that stuff. So
right.
that's a trick to keep the cost down. So if you're getting beef specifically, you want 100% grass-fed, and then pork and chicken, I always look for things that say that are labeled pastured. And for pork and chicken, I'll go to companies' websites and farms' websites and see how are they actually raising them. Are they giving them antibiotics? Do they have full access to outside and all that stuff, and do a little bit more digging.
Yeah, the bottom line there, to your point, is form a relationship with the local farmer
Yeah,
and
that's the best.
and go visit them and create a relationship and understand how they're growing their animals.
Yeah, I think people need to start putting a little bit more effort into this. I know we're all busy, but putting effort into what you're eating, when you start seeing how good you feel when you do it, you're gonna realize that it's worth the effort.
Right.
So yeah, but what were your experiences when you went on carnivore? You dropped a bunch of weight.
Yeah, so in 30 days I dropped 20 pounds immediately.
That's pretty crazy.
Um, yeah, and I think mentally was a lot better energy wise and not having any days that are a little more blue than others, or a little more anxious or anything like that. I noticed that feeling had dissipated quite a bit as well.
Hmm.
Sleep was better. I think it was definitely a good fit for me.
Yeah, all that, the sleep and the feeling, not having days that are more or less energetic than others. All that
Right.
protein, you're getting all the amino acids to make neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine and adrenaline, and melatonin, which is contributing to great sleep. All that protein and no carbs sabotaging that is going to make all those things better.
And all your fat soluble vitamins too.
Exactly, exactly.
Absolutely. Sure.
Now, from what I understand, going carnivore, depending on what version of carnivore you go, may not specifically drop you into ketosis, but it could, depending on your body and depending on what type of meats and how much of the fat you're eating.
Yeah.
So it could, it may not, but that's not necessarily the point of the diet.
Yeah, that's right. I found for me, I kind of got tired of it after a little while, even though I was feeling good. It wasn't as easy to do with my family.
Hmm.
It was hard to eat completely separately than they were eating all the time.
Yep.
So I was one of those people that would bring in some fruits here and there, and have some broccoli or something with the family,
Yep.
just because just became easier on the family.
Yeah, I believe that. I'm in the middle of doing a juice fast right now, actually.
Yeah,
And I literally sit at the table and watch my family eat, and I'm not eating anything, or I'll drink some bone broth or some juice.
right.
So yeah, it's a little odd, but it is what it is. I mean, you're doing something for your health, so it's going to be out of the norm.
That's true. I mean, my wife's at the point now. She's like, "Are you eating with us today, or are you eating with us tonight?
Yeah, that's what Molly
Or am
says
I
too.
doing my own food or whatever?" So,
But when like talking about going, getting into ketosis or not, and some people will say, "Oh, we lived in ketosis when we were, caveman dwellers." But, did we really? Because honestly, what did we eat in the wintertime when there was no vegetation? We probably found ways to preserve meat
yeah,
and ate predominantly meat, and we stocked up on high fat meat so that we could have the calories to get us through winter. But then
right.
I think when the spring and summer came around and berries and all this vegetation type, all these plant-based foods came around, then we probably loaded up on that with the point of us packing on a couple of pounds by eating these, more carbs and things like that. It patted our hunter-gatherer ancestors a little bit more heavily so that when they got into winter, they could go into ketosis and maybe not eat every day, maybe not eat but every couple of days, and then they find an animal, they kill it, and they gorge themselves on fat, and then their body keeps burning that fat, basically to allow you to survive during the winter when food is harder to come by.
Yeah,
So going ketosis for a while and then not being in ketosis for a while is probably more resembling what our hunter-gatherer, ancestors were like.
right.
Which goes right along with what you were saying about the carnivore diet kind of evolving based on who you're talking to.
Yep. I mean, I think it's fitting people and the way they feel,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah, I don't see it
But
like. Go
I
ahead.
mean, if they're getting all those good high quality foods anyways, like for me, like what does it matter?
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
you eat berries. Oh, you're not doing it right. No, that's not the case. You're eating healthy for you, and that's great.
And you're not
If you're
eating
feeling good that
ho-hos
way.
and
What's that?
donuts. And you're not eating ho-hos and donuts anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
even if people talk about that conventional animals, they will store their toxins in their fat. That may be true, but it's still going to be way better than going and eating donuts.
100%.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm on a juice fast right now. So what juice fasting does, like a lot of people have seen that Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead documentary. Did you see that one with Joe Cross?
I didn't see that one.
Okay, that's an interesting one. The guy is, he's huge and he lives the corporate life. He's rich, but he's starting to get all kinds of health issues, like severe health issues. So he decides to start, drinking nothing but juice. And he doesn't know why, like he didn't know how everything works metabolically or anything, so he just started juicing and he dropped all kinds of weight. And he talked about how there's a 7 to 10 day period where it's just not fun, then all of a sudden that shuts off and you feel fantastic. And as I was watching this movie, shortly after was when I got into reading about ketosis. I was like, wow, these two things sound really familiar. And this was, earlier in the internet days and stuff like that. So you really had to search for stuff. But then when I researched it, I was like, oh, these things just calorie restrict you so much that you eventually drop into ketosis. Because if you outright starve yourself, and just drink water, that's what's going to happen. Your body's
Yeah.
going to flop you into ketosis out of necessity.
Right.
But what makes juice fasting so interesting is you're also flooding your body with a whole bunch of micronutrients from the vegetable juice. So the interesting about doing this and getting into ketosis this way is that you're getting into ketosis so that you're going to start dropping weight like crazy, but you're also flooding your body with nutrients. So you're replacing all kinds of vitamins and minerals that you might not have gotten for a while, which is going to start your body, and by giving your body a break from physically digesting food, now you're setting yourself up for a ripe situation of detoxification.
Yeah.
Your body's going to get a break and it's going to start detoxifying pretty efficiently.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest keys in healthcare right now is detoxing the inflammation in people's bodies.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
So what would you like from what you understand? How does that make it easier for your body to detoxify when you just stop the process of digestion and all that?
oh, well, when you stop the process of digestion, you allow your body to go to the most crucial areas to eliminate toxicity.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
There's a process called autophagy
Yep.
where there's damaged cells or weakened cells, and the body can get rid of those things. When you don't have to constantly process things, you can eliminate things.
Yeah. Right.
So a lot of times the body's designed for longevity. It's not going to work at 100% and then cells are going to die. The cells are going to be weakened and the body would rather keep that cell around than to kill it after working very hard for 3 days.
Yeah. Right.
So when you don't have the process of constantly having to process all those nutrients, your body's going to work on the problem areas and decrease the inflammation and toxicity and get rid of waste.
Yeah. Right. In addition to just like we were talking about with the meats, our body will take toxins and store them in our fat cells also, especially if people don't have proper bile flow, which is the way it prefers to get rid of it. If your bile isn't moving, then your body's going to store those toxins in fat cells. And if you start losing all kinds of weight because you're in ketosis, all of a sudden those toxins start circulating, and now they start getting out of your body.
Right.
So yeah, it's really interesting how all this works.
It really is.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, going through this juice fast, I've done it a few times. Like I said, the first time we only did it for 3 days, and that was brutal because we had never been in ketosis before. So switching into, if you've never been in ketosis before, that's going to be your roughest time getting into ketosis, because your body you might have a touch of insulin insensitivity, and so it's going to take your body longer to flop over from burning sugar to burning fat. That first time, those 3 days were a slog fest trying to get through. But after I was in ketosis, after I did a ketogenic diet for a while, and then I did a juice fast, I was like, wow, I flopped into ketosis in the first day.
Yeah.
So it becomes much easier. But just like a ketogenic diet, like what I was talking about before, if you do a juice fast and then you do get into ketosis, then you're going to start running through salt and minerals like crazy. So even though you're eating all these you're taking all these vegetables, you don't have the minerals that you're getting through like meats and things like that, and you don't salt your vegetables typically. So you do have to supplement your minerals like crazy. That supplement powder that I have on my website, that works great. But what I kind of came up with that I think is the magic formula is doing a juice fast, but drinking juice and drinking, like I make my homemade bone broth, because then you get the minerals that you would get from the meats. I put salt in the bone broth, and you mix that with vegetable juice, and you alternate the two. Now I think you got something that's magic.
I think that's the better combo myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I'll put some instructions on how to do that on my website. But yeah, that seems to be working really well. It's a lot easier to stick to. So I think that's going to be something that I do on a yearly basis. And that's what, we have to look back at what our ancestors did. We were probably in and out of ketosis. There were times where we didn't eat for possibly, a couple of days to a week because food wasn't highly available. And all these things probably helped our body, detox at some periods while we're loading up on calories in other periods and all that stuff. And all that stuff all those processes helped our body keep itself healthy.
Yep. Yeah, I think one of the keys with whatever diet anyone picks is getting satiated. Because if you're trying to follow something and you're following directions or whatever, someone telling you something to do, and you're hungry, that's generally going to fail.
It's over. Yeah, if you can't get your hunger under control, it's over.
It's over.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times, like those first, like you said, those first couple days, I like to think about it as around 9 days. So you're going through possible headaches, you're going through some lethargy, you're going through some hunger. You have to find that point where your body's satiated to stick with it.
Mm-hmm.
So you might need to eat a little bit more than other people do, but you're going to get to that stage where your body starts processing its own fat stores for energy.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to get to the point where it's like, gosh, I don't need to eat that much at all now.
Yeah.
And then dial it in from that point.
Yeah. Increasing fat, salt, and minerals, I think, is the magic formula for keeping yourself full. The fat contains fatty acids that directly cause a rise in leptin. And then your minerals, if you have the minerals, then you won't, like, if you're low on salt, you're going to start craving carbs.
For sure.
So keeping up your salt and minerals is really, really important.
Yeah.
So, all right, man. This was awesome. I think this will be really helpful for people. What do you got?
Sure.
Have anything special going on your website?
I think we're coming up with a couple new guides on some eating styles to reduce pain and inflammation.
Inflammation,
And
yeah.
also,
Inflammation reset, right?
yeah, and then changing up the liver. Liver is the key.
Yeah, definitely. I just put up a 30-day program to reset your gut health. So that can be found if people go to healthunmasked.com, they can find links to both of our websites where they have their where you can find the programs that we have available and all the free guides. Both of our websites are loaded up with free guides on all kinds of different topics. So if you go to healthunmasked.co, you can find the links to both of our websites.
Perfect.
So, all right, Eric, good talking to you, man.
Yeah, you too, buddy.
All right, see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. All right, everybody, thanks for listening. And once again, if you're interested in any of the programs that we have on our websites, Eric's website is modernhealthinstitute.com. And right now he has his 9-day blood sugar breakthrough program and his inflammation reset program. And if you go to my website, which is truthandjalapenos.com, or you can go to truthandj.com because jalapenos is a hard to spell word, but truthandj.com, where you can find a 30-day gut health reset program and a new program that's 21 days to calm, happy, and agreeable kids. So if you have little kids or teenagers that you would like to fight less with, or you would like to improve their behavior, that's what this program is meant for. So that is at truthandjalapenos.com or truthandj.com. All right, thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great one.